Hello guys, it's been a while, but welcome back to the Comic Book Cafe, and today I'm going to talk about Avengers 161. Again, this is back, you know, in the more golden age of comics. Uh, let's see, this comic book originally came out in 1977, and this Avenger book is back when it was a team of Captain America, it was Vision, it was Black Panther, it was Ant-Man, it was Scarlet Witch, it was Beast was around. Uh, in this comic book, Wonder Man's not a part of the Avenger team. Now remember, the Avengers had a lot of roster changes over the years, so to keep track of the roster changes can be quite difficult. The other great thing about these older 70s and before books, compared to get to the later 80s, obviously the 90s and 2000, early 2000s at least, was this book back then was concentrated on real life superheroes that had real life problems. Not where like the 90s and the early 2000s it became super people who could solve anything and not have any problems. These guys had a lot of problems. It was about a lot of interpersonal relationships. And so that's why a lot of people could relate to these older books than, let's say, the 90s. And so, why I shouldn't be yawning, but I am. Been a long day. But, so that's why people love these books, and that's why I absolutely love this comic book. Because this comic book starts off where the Avengers are walking through the mansion, and something has happened to Ant-Man. Ant-Man, somehow his memories have reverted to like when the Avengers first started. So he doesn't know who Scarlet Witch is. He doesn't know who Black Panther is and stuff. He only knows, like, he knows Iron Man as the original Iron Man, the one color code armor man, not the red and gold armor man. And he thinks Captain America was dead at this time, and Vision was dead. And so he sees these people, and he's like, these people aren't real, these people are phony, and he calls ants and he attacks them. And he uses a little trick where, on two of them, where he basically gets big, punches them in the face, and gets small again. Now, Hank, as a lot of people know him, or Ant-Man, has had a lot of superhero identities through the years. He was Ant-Man, he was Goliath, he was Yellow Jacket. He's had a ton of identities as a superhero. He's also the tragic Avenger. He's also like the Avenger where he always constantly fails. He can never like do anything right. He's the guy who has a lot of tragedy in his life, and his character is just wrought with tragedy. He's almost a guy who is a superhero, but everything about him points to the fact that he shouldn't be a superhero. But he is. And because of that great tragedy, he's a great character. So they ask his wife, they stop, his wife stops him. Janet stops him, the Wasp, and they ask her what happened. Why is he acting like this? And she goes all the way back before they were married. Talking about all the different identities he'd gone through as a superhero, and how he was just having a lot of issues, but somehow it seemed like everything was going all right because he joined the Avengers, back to Avengers again. They'd gotten married. It seemed like everything was going great, but then all of a sudden she said he had a lot of failures in the lab, and he didn't want to see shrink, but she did behind his back, and she didn't want, he didn't want to live off her inheritance, but they were living off her inheritance, and everything seemed to go fine, and then all of a sudden the day before, he just all of a sudden something snapped, and he destroyed his lab and disappeared. And so that's the story where she tells what happened. Now, they decide to use a machine to bring him back. And they do the machine, and you don't know if it brings him back at this point, but the real plot of what happened to him finally comes about, because who shows up but none other than Ultron. And Ultron, of course, is Hank's creation. The ultimate adaptable android, or you call him a robot, whatever. He can adapt. He constantly upgrading himself. He's constantly changing himself. And so they thought he was dead because the last time he showed up was, at this point, was Fantastic Four issue 150, and he had a game plan. He came up with every way possible so that he wouldn't die, and of course he didn't. And he attacks the Avengers, and he's beating them up. He beats them all up, but of course Scarlet Witch, and he's like, "There's no way you can attack me," and she does. She's able to hurt him, but he uses Captain America as a decoy and takes her out. And basically at the end, he takes out all the Avengers, except for the last one is, of course, Hank, and Hank realizes who he is and realizes Janet's in trouble. He may not remember a lot, but he remembers who he is, and he goes to stop him. Cause he kind of remembers who he is, even though he doesn't. Like he says his name, Ultron, but he doesn't remember him. And so he says, I feel like I should attack you, and he does. And Ultron stops him. And the Justin comic book is eventually Ultron, except for Hank, who he captured, he wants to because he's his father, ships everybody else out of the Avenger headquarters, and that's how it ends. Now, one of the interesting things I will show you is at this point, Wonder Man is actually like in yellow and green with like the red visor, kind of a different outfit than a lot of people probably remember him from. This is a book drawn by George Perez, which is a great artist, an unbelievable artist. But let me look for the page just to show you a little bit of the art style. Absolutely great book if you love interpersonal stories about, backstories of characters and relationships. This is definitely one of them. But here is the a little bit of the artwork, and of course, right here, over here, we have Ultron, of course, what he looks like back then, basically attacking the Avengers and everything. And of course, way up here is Hank, I don't know who he is and stuff. Great artwork. Again, a case where the artwork looks like the cover. This is a time where basically the same artist basically did the cover. This wasn't a case where, hey, some other artist did the cover, some other artist did the art inside. You looked at the cover, you knew what the art style was inside. This was a great story and a great comic book. So, hope you guys liked the video. Hope sometime you get to check out this comic book. It's a great comic book to add to your collection. And I will talk to you guys again soon for another comic book at Comic Book Cafe. Thanks for watching.